The big fish has been reeled in. Kevin Brown is a West Virginia Mountaineer. We're going to talk about it and more today on Between the Ears. Good Wednesday morning, everyone. Schuyler Callihan here with another episode of Between the Ears. Before we get started, make sure to click that like button on this video and hit subscribe on our channel at West Virginia on SI. We've got episodes dropping every Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Next week, we invite you to tune in to our final Walk Thru GameDay Show of the year. We want to make it our biggest episode of the season. I understand it's not the game that everyone's going to be all excited about and jumping for joy for, but we want to make it the biggest to end the season with a bang. So hope that you join us next week on the Game Day Show, breaking down that matchup between the Mountaineers and the Red Raiders. And of course, we have the Mountaineer Postgame Show following every Mountaineer football and men's basketball game. So yesterday, as we kind of discussed at the end of the show yesterday, kind of hinted it, but it's the worst kept secret in recruiting over the last couple of weeks, and that is Kevin Brown making his decision to go to West Virginia, and did so in fashion. I mean, if you haven't seen it yet, lighting a couch on fire at his uncle's house in the backyard, it doesn't get any more West Virginia than that. And you could just tell the excitement in his voice, the excitement in his dad's voice. We're going to talk about all of that stuff, but just the fact that it's done, it's over with. You could just see that the relief just coming out of him, just knowing that this is over with. And it's a stressful time because when you're committed to a program for as long as he's been, it can be heartbreaking because you think and you can envision that you're going to be playing for a certain coach at a certain program, and you're going to do things a certain way, and then that all gets upended because of a coaching change, and then all of a sudden your future is in doubt. You know you're going to play at the next level, but you don't know where that's going to be, who it's going to be for, what the fit's going to be like. Can you find something that is as good or maybe even better than what you were previously committed to? So that's a tough situation for a young 18, 17-year-old kid to navigate through. And the good thing is he has a strong support system. His family has helped him along the way. Obviously, his dad has helped prepare him both mentally and physically for the college level. So this is something that, even though it was a challenging time, he had the support system around him to make it all go well. So a lot to unpack here. We could talk about his future with West Virginia, but before we do that, I think we have to start with the comments that he made about the two previous trips that he made to Morgantown before Rich Rodriguez got there. And I'm sure a lot of you have already known or heard about this stuff. We wrote about it. The clips are out there on the web, but still, I wanted to just talk about it here for a second. So if you don't know, he made a trip back to West Virginia probably when he was, I'd say late elementary, maybe middle school. I don't know. I would say probably elementary. I'm not exactly sure of the timeline, but when Dana Holgerson was there, I believe this is how I'm taking it. That's when he and his father went to a practice and got kicked out. Now, if you think about it, it lines up. There's a lot of people, a lot of former players that have come out and said, and have even told me they didn't feel welcome when Dana was there. And that kind of aligns perfectly with that timeline, if that's the case. And to me, that's absurd. I don't care what the situation is. If there's a part or a period in the practice that you want completely closed and you don't want anybody to see, even a former player, that's fine. But to just kick them out completely, I don't know the exact story behind it. Don't know the full details. Don't know both ends of it. Obviously, no one really does. But for that to happen, that's just ridiculous. Can't happen. Should never happen. Probably won't ever happen under Rich Rodriguez, because he's made that very clear that everybody, regardless of whatever era you're from and who you were coached by, you're welcome back. And that's what needs to happen. That's what has to happen from this point moving forward, even when Rich Rod decides to hang it up. Secondly, and this is probably the more interesting part, Oh boy. He said that when he visited or came to a practice, I can't remember the exact term, but or terminology, but he came to West Virginia as a sophomore. So this was 2 years ago. The offensive line coach didn't watch his film. What? I mean, he didn't watch his film. This is one of the best offensive tackles, or you could just say offensive lineman in the country, and didn't watch his film. Now, take that for what you will. And this isn't going to be a Matt Moore, episode where I'm just going to slam him. But look, I'm not going to say that he got a little bit lucky, but he may have got a little bit lucky, right? Because let's think about it. In his time at West Virginia, the offensive line was pretty much one of the strengths of the team, but you had Zach Frazier, you had Wyatt Milam, and you had Doug Nestor. Three West Virginia kids. Doug obviously transferred in from Virginia Tech, but you were able to have three in-state kids who are really damn good. And that just doesn't happen. I mean, you can go back through the lore of West Virginia football, and there has not been very many times, if any, that I can think of, where you had that many West Virginia natives starting up front and were good, like very good. Not just average, can get by as a starter in the Big 12, but all league type of players. So obviously, there's some coaching that goes into it. There's a development piece to it. So you have to tip your hat for that for Matt Moore, but you also have to look at the grand scheme of things and say, beyond those guys, what was developed? What was there? I'm not going to go into again a whole Matt Moore slam episode, but just keep that in mind. And the fact that you didn't watch. Now, there's two sides to every story. We're just hearing one side of it. But if this is the case and he did not watch Kevin Brown's highlights or his tape, oh boy. Oh boy. But moving on to what this will look like for West Virginia. First, let's start with the needs because I think we got to go there first before we can get into what 26 looks like. I firmly believe he's going to have a chance to start right away. So we'll get to that again here in a second. But I still believe Rich Rod is going to bring in another offensive tackle via the portal, maybe even two. Maybe one guy that can play right tackle, and then maybe you got a guy that can swing both ways, left and right. Because as we've seen, injuries do happen. And really, the one spot on the offense this year that really hadn't been impacted all that much by injury has been the offensive line. Maybe next year, find some wood to knock on, you know? But hopefully that's not the offensive line's turn next year. But if it is, you got to have some options because you can't just have Kevin Brown and what? You know what I mean? So you got to have some answers. Also, which no one really wants to speak this out into thin air, but it's something that you have to keep in mind. You never know what you're getting in an 18-year-old kid. You never know. There's these kids that have all these offers. They have all this talent in the world. They look like they're a surefire starter, multi-year player that's going to be in the NFL, and then they get to college and it's not what you expected. I don't believe that's going to be the case with Kevin Brown. I really don't. I think he is going to be as good as advertised and maybe then some. However, I don't have a crystal ball. Rich Rodriguez doesn't have a crystal ball. Weird things happen. So you have to be prepared, especially in year one, more so than 2 or 3 years down the road for him. But in year one, you don't know what that transition is going to look like. Is he going to be ready game one for next year? I think physically speaking, yeah, he's ready right now. But if we're talking mentally and just understanding the scheme and being able to conceptualize everything and seeing what this looks like, at this speed at the next level, I don't know. That transition's tough, and some of the best recruits ever have had some struggles, and it took them a couple of years. So I I don't want to get into, he's the start and end at right tackle. Yeah, you can't go there. You've got to have some other options. So don't be surprised when you see another offensive tackle make his way to Morgantown via the portal. And it could be a guy that started some games. And don't take that as, oh, he's gonna be the guy over Kevin Brown, but you've got to have some insurance. If you don't have an insurance policy, you're in deep trouble. So just keep that in mind. Now, going to whether or not he can start day one. I think it's a tall task for a lot of people to start from game one of year one, especially along the offensive line. Those guys, it is the toughest. I think outside of, I would say cornerback is probably the second toughest, and I'd say quarterback. Well, let me put it this way: I would go offensive line, quarterback, cornerback. Cornerbacks don't. I think a lot of folks just don't realize how tough that is to deal with some of these receivers that they're having to match up against that early in their career. So, but the offensive line, it is the toughest transition from high school to college, even for the best players, because there's just so much more to it. You're going to see guys that have multiple tools in their tool bag. They can go to a swim move, they can go to an up and under move, they can go to a spin, they can, all these twists and stunts that they have to handle at the college level are not as advanced, and blitzes, disguised blitzes, are not as advanced at the high school level. So they're going to see a whole hell of a lot that they're not accustomed to. And I think it does benefit Kevin that he comes from a fairly heavy run offense that puts him in space. He's as a puller, gets downhill, and he just annihilates people. And it's a fun highlight tape to watch. There's a reason why everybody and their brother wanted him. Pass protection, there's not a lot of it on his highlight film, but you can see the foundation is there. Like he's going to be okay. But still, there's going to be some bumps in the road. It's not going to be a perfect product. If you have this vision that he's going to come in, he's not going to have a single missed assignment, he's not going to have give up a single sack, and that he's going to absolutely road grade every single week, and that there's not going to be one spot of, oh boy, that looks like a freshman, you're going to be wrong. It happens to everybody. There's never been a perfect offensive lineman that was a true freshman, ever. And there will never be. There's going to be some moments, and that's okay to have a few of them. You just got to shrink those and make sure that those don't come in clusters and it just kills your game and your game plan. I don't think that's going to be the case for Kevin Brown. I don't. I think, like I said, he's going to be as good as advertised. But I think we need to be smart with the expectations. It's hard. I know it is. I'm not trying to kill the buzz, folks, because he is going to be legit. Let me just put it that way. So he is going to be legit, but just remember, this is going to be an 18-year-old kid stepping in, assuming he wins the starting job. There's going to be some ups and downs. There's going to be some freshman moments, just like we've seen from Scotty Fox this year. Those will happen. That's okay. But the fact is, he's going to come in and immediately upgrade that offensive line and be a tone setter. You want a team that plays hard edge, you want an offensive line that has that hard edge mentality, you got to get more guys like this. And I think, too, to be honest with you, I don't know that he's going to be ready from week one of year one, but I think Camden Goforth, another commit in this offensive line class, is cut from that same cloth. Go watch his highlights. Oh boy, he loves to bully some people. So, yeah, I do think Kevin's going to be the dude. I think he's going to have a really good chance to start week one. And hey, if he doesn't start week one, it's not time to panic. It's not time to start thinking, oh my goodness, they spent whatever in NIL money, and he's not going to be what we thought. It just may be he starts 2 weeks later, and he's a week 3 starter from there on, and it's as expected. I don't know. But there's a lot of time between now and that kickoff next year in 2026. A lot can happen. You need to go out and get that insurance policy. How good is that insurance policy? Is it somebody that can maybe, again, step in there and maybe split time with Kevin in those first couple of weeks? And I know I'm going to hear it too. Oh, you can't pay a guy that type of money and not play him. You still got to earn it. That's why Rich says earn success, earn success, earn success. So I do think there's going to be an insurance policy, whether that's already on the roster, and Malik Agbo, Xavier Bosley, or somebody that they bring in that can compete and really push Kevin Brown. But in the end, if you want my answer, yeah, I do. I think he's going to start for you week 1. So, all right, folks, let me know what you think about this new commit in the comments section. What are your expectations for him? Do you think he starts week 1 in 2026? And I'll chat back and forth with you in the comments section. That'll do it for us this week on Between the Ears. But we will be back on Friday night and on Sunday night for the Mountaineer Postgame Show. We'll also have an episode on Sunday, likely talking some basketball, potentially, depending on what happens on Friday. We'll see what happens on Friday before I decide what I'm going to do Sunday here on BTE. So thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe button here on our YouTube channel at West Virginia on SI. And we'll talk to you here in a couple of days. Take care.